Welcome to Holy Health, the podcast where cutting-edge health insights meet timeless biblical wisdom. Join us as we explore the latest in wellness, fitness, and mental health, all while grounding our journey in the spiritual truths and guidance found in the Torah. Whether you're looking to nourish your body, mind, or soul, we'll help you live a life of balance, vitality, and faith. Tune in to discover how to achieve holistic health through the perfect blend of modern science and ancient wisdom. Let's dive into the fullness of life, body, and spirit together. Hey guys, welcome to a new year of the Holy Health Podcast. I'm really excited to bring you guys today's episode, which gave me so much food for thought. I often, especially if someone reaches out to me, I don't always know what to expect. And Dr. Glass reached out to me and I wasn't sure, it sounded like it could be interesting, detoxing, and I am a big believer in we should all get to hear everything. It doesn't have to be what I would personally do or my personal opinion. I really want people to hear things and learn to think from themselves, what makes sense for you, what doesn't make sense for you. Try things. It's okay to try things and figure it out. And I've sort of had this attitude for the last few years, I guess because I've been poisoned. I don't want to say poisoned, but I've been tuned into the mainstream where, everything is meat and meat heavy and protein and keto. And believe me when I tell you guys, I've tried all of those diets. I've tried keto. I've tried low carb. I've tried no carb. I've tried them all. None of them work so well for me. I don't feel so amazing on any of them. And, I've kind of been anti-vegetarian diet and under, in the back of my mind, when someone's vegetarian, I'm thinking oh, you're not healthy enough. Dr. Glass really opened my eyes and has given me personally a lot of food for thought. And I'm going to try some things in my life and I will let you guys know how these things work out. But I'm starting to look at things a little differently, especially because I have always said if it says in the Torah, then it's got to be okay for us. And in nowhere does the Torah tell us to only eat meat and to eat the tremendous amount of protein that's being pushed today. And some of the reason maybe more protein is being pushed is because our protein sources are inefficient. We've kind of, mucked them all up by feeding the animals back the bad things or, spraying glyphosate on our plants. And I think we do need to get back to things being more natural. So I really had some good food for thought in today's episode. I thought it was really interesting. I want to tell you guys a little bit about who Dr. Glass is. Dr. Jonathan Glass is the founder and author of the Total Life Cleanse. He's a naturopathic doctor, a master acupuncturist, an Ayurvedic practitioner, an energy healer, an herbalist, and a natural health educator. Jonathan served on the faculty of the New England School of Acupuncture and the Dharma Institute of Yoga and Ayurveda. He's facilitated thousands through his Jiv Atma energy healing and Total Life Cleanse programs. Jonathan has been in private practice since 1987. When he co-founded the Healing Essence Center and with Catherine Glass in Concord, Massachusetts. So that's who Dr. Jonathan Glass is. And I remembered as I was trying to think, who could I get for today's Torah Extro? And again, if any of you want to help me out with Torah Extros, please let me know, because finding the people to interview is not that hard, but it's not always easy to find the people who want to help me with the Torah part. But I started thinking, and I realized that a couple of years ago, I had recorded an episode with Yardena Slater, and something happened. The episode disappeared, and we talked a lot about detoxing because she is also like a detox practitioner or specialist in her own right. And something had happened, and I never was able to put that episode out. And there's something else that she does as well that I realized could be a piece of an interview that I'm doing in the coming weeks. And I reached out to her and I said, I think you'd be perfect. Could you help me out with today's Torah Extro? So we are lucky to have Yardena Slater with us today. She is a certified detox specialist and a face yoga teacher. She helps women 35 plus renew their body, face, and vibe through detox, face, yoga, and mindset work. And I'm going to have both of their links listed in the show notes. And I hope you guys will enjoy today's episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. It is an exciting new year. I have, I think, 7 or 8 interviews set up over the next few weeks. And I'm looking for people to help me with the Torah parts. And I'm always looking. There is no shortage. The world is an amazing place. People are amazing. They are wondrous. And everyone has a different story. And it is so interesting to learn from everyone. And I think that we have to be aware that you don't always have to agree with somebody, but you can hear what they say and you can always learn something. So I hope you guys will enjoy today's episode and Shabbat Shalom. Hi, Dr. Glassman. I am so excited that you could join us today, and I'm really looking forward to this topic. It's something we have not covered, definitely not in enough depth. So I was really excited when you reached out to me. But we are going to be talking today about, and I hope I pronounce this well. It's one of those words I've never been good at saying, Ayurvedic medicine, and specifically with a focus on detoxification, which I think is something, huge with the world that we're surrounded by. Understanding how to detox, I think, is very important. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
So welcome. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I would love to hear a little bit about your background, how you got into this field.
Sure. So initially, as a kid, I had really bad allergies and bronchial issues. And so it just put me on a path of looking into food, diet, nutrition. I was an athlete, played hockey, soccer, college. And at some point early on, probably when I was around 19 years old, I realized that diet really mattered. And then got into yoga and meditation. And mostly I found that it was very helpful in terms of, just how I function mentally, emotionally, and also as an athlete. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I just became very passionate about it. And I realized that this is something I wanted to spend the rest of my life pursuing.
Okay, it's not politically correct, and I'm not asking you how old you are, but I think you look fantastic. I mean, you look like you're 25, 30. You look like a really young guy, but you're talking about diet. Like, to me, it seems like it's only like the past maybe 15 years that people have really understood, how much diet can really impact us. So this sounds like this was like early days. Like, I was there
Yeah, I'm
internet?
65.
Like, okay, fine. I don't like to ask because it's
That's
not
fine.
politically correct, but
That's
I'm
fine.
saying, like, how did you, get onto diet, and were you vegetarian? What type
Well,
of
what
diet were you
happened was
eating?
that I was, at college and, like I said, I played soccer. And I mean, my soccer coach would say, eat a extra cheese pizza with hamburger on it the night before the game, a lot of nutrition. And I would feel like a lead brick and I would just be so congested. And because I actually liked it, I was in denial for quite a while about how bad it made me feel. But I went to a local health food store in Pennsylvania, United States, and this really cool guy was there. I told him, I'm constantly coughing up mucus. I can't keep up with other players because of my lungs. Although I was a good athlete, I was fast, I was very capable. And he had me read a book. He said, read this book and take this supplement. And it was a supplement called Engamic, which was coming from apricot seed. And he said it helped to oxygenate the blood. The Russians used it. And this book, Back to Eden, which is an old naturopathic book way back in the day, read allergies, lung conditions. It told me all the things I needed to avoid in terms of diet. And overnight, I did it. And within 2 weeks, my lungs were better than they had been in years. It was crazy, just all the phlegm production that I was creating in my body just made so very immediately. It was like a light went off. Like, oh my God, this really made an impact. I was surprised. I wasn't thinking it was going to be immediate. And then I just started becoming very passionate about it. I mean, I think it was in me anyway. As a little kid, I was always good at giving massage, and I was somehow or other into that world. But I think because it was such a profound change for me, uh, that was such a direct experience, it woke me up to a possibility. And then I just went down that path. We started reading voraciously and studying more and more yoga, got into Ayurveda, went to India. So one thing after another. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what your training was, and did this happen straight from college? And what is, and if I said it wrong, is it? I I thought it was Ayurvedic medicine, but
Yeah. Yeah. You said it
could you tell
perfect.
me a little bit about what that is? Okay, good.
Yeah. So, I got into yoga and meditation. And again, I noticed that doing the yoga breathing and certain postures strengthened me and relaxed the body in a way that all this stretching and, fitness training that I was used to doing, it impacted me in a different way. And I felt more subtle, more agile, more connected to my body in a way that, again, all the weightlifting and training and, hyper stretching and all that stuff didn't touch. And so then in my reading about yoga, then I learned something about Ayurveda, because Ayurveda is a system of medicine from India that correlates with the yoga system. It's a very systematic, profound system of medicine that covers many, many bases, even including surgery, herbology, diagnostics. It's a very advanced system. Um, and so I liked how it aligned with yoga because I was getting into it. And I started, learning about the body types and the importance of seasonal detoxification. And just it all started making sense to me. It was all the different aspects. And I realized this is an incredibly comprehensive system that that includes the human being as a person, ultimately even as a spiritual being. But it helps to function in this world uh, better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So again, it was like I just jumped on the fast track and became very passionate about it. So yeah, Ayurveda is that system of medicine that goes along with the yoga system.
Okay, and so do you get a degree in it? Is it a certification? You
Yeah,
went to
there's
India.
different. Yeah, so a lot of my learning in the beginning was just reading and studying with some people in India. There was no certification. What I chose to do was study a form of acupuncture in the West, which was very uh, Ayurvedically oriented. So, in other words, a system of many systems of acupuncture. This one in particular was aligned with the philosophy of Ayurveda. And back then in America, this was back in the early 90s, um, getting an acupuncture license gave me a lot more capacity to treat patients than Ayurveda did. And so what I did after that was went on to pursue studying Ayurveda with various teachers. Ayurveda was my first passion. Acupuncture was a passion and something that I realized, since I wanted to become a professional in the field, that combining Ayurveda and acupuncture was going to be a very helpful combination. So I wanted to study. So yeah, there's colleges in the United States now. You can become certified. You can even get a doctor of Ayurveda in this country now.
Okay, so how do you use that today to treat patients?
Yeah. So basically, when I work with somebody, I work with them with acupuncture based on the pulses, based on the symptoms. Um, with nutrition, diet nutrition, I do something called applied kinesiology, which is a way of assessing the body. And then also, because of Ayurveda, uh, we get a sense of someone's what's called dosha. The dosha means fault tendency. Basically, it means every person is made up of the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether in a unique combination. So once you assess that, that combination will determine someone's strengths and inherent weaknesses. So that's a way that I work with people, where I get to know that person very much individually, and therefore I can make dietary, lifestyle recommendations to help create a program for that person so that they can uh, live, eat, lifestyle, exercise according to their nature, according to what serves them best. I mean, different body types, not every body type should be lifting heavy weights, for example. Not every body type should be running long distances. You know, not every body type does well with just very gentle exercise. Some people need to push more. So based on the body type, for example, we can make dietary and lifestyle recommendations. So the idea is to, when I'm working with people, to treat the symptoms, treat what people come in for, but also without treating the whole person. Then what happens is that they don't learn anything, number one, and two, they don't learn to take responsibility for their own health and make healthy, conscious, mostly intelligent decisions on how to move forward. So so in that sense, I'm a health coach as well, helping people to navigate through life better.
Well, you may have seen that I was kind of laughing a little bit. And the reason I was laughing is because it sounds a lot like what I do as a physical therapist. And I try to
Excellent.
educate people that I'm looking beyond just the injury. We're trying to look at what the root cause of the injury was and what
Excellent.
you can do to adjust things that will long term help you adjust exercise to make it work for you instead of against you. And so
Absolutely.
I was just sort of chuckling because it sounded very similar to the type of
Absolutely.
things that I say.
Oh,
And so
beautiful.
I heard you also. So first of all, how would you differ yourself from like a functional medicine doctor?
Okay.
Or is it just a different form of functional medicine? Or because you're
Um,
looking for the root cause of someone's.
Looking for the root cause. So, I do use some functional medicine. I do some testing. Um, but
Mhm.
everything is oftentimes, I will say that, and this isn't true for all functional medicine doctors, but very often I have people come in and they say, I've been to a functional medicine doctor. We did so many tests. I'm taking 30 supplements every day. I really have no clue what I'm doing. I have no clue why I'm doing what I'm doing. And very little conversation has been there about, yeah, maybe, okay, avoid this food because you're allergic to it. It said so. But very little emphasis on, what are those dietary practices, lifestyle practices, breathing practices, sleeping practices, based on the individual person's body type. So functional medicine is meant to get to the root cause. But, and I'll just be so bold to say that unless we treat the person as a human being or as a spirit soul who has a body with a purpose in life, with a goal in life, with a purpose of being human, like, why am I here? What is my gift? What are my biggest challenges? Unless we're helping, I feel, unless I'm helping someone in that realm to some degree, I'm not really serving that person to the greatest capacity. So, in one sense, yes, I'm doing functional medicine, but it's including uh, areas that are often missed, which are very, very important.
Are you able to, let's just say somebody comes into you, are you looking at their blood tests and things like that also? Or are you
Yeah,
basing it
I'm
more
looking at
on
them.
pulses? Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
mostly I'm basing it on pulses, the Ayurvedic assessment, and the kinesiology, the muscle testing, which is a way of tapping into the body's innate intelligence and asking questions. It's like a nonverbal therapist for the body, like finding out what underlying stressors are there and bringing all those things together is That is the
Okay,
foundation of the
can you
recommendation.
I know exactly what kinesiological testing is. I've learned several levels of neurokinetic therapy. And could you tell people what it is? And I find it interesting. And then I'm wondering if you believe in the self kinesiology, like where you could fall forward, fall back. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
So, but if
absolutely.
you could talk a little bit about, I know we're supposed to be talking about detox and we will get there, but I'm finding this really interesting. So
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
want to go down this avenue
Well,
with
what's
you.
beautiful about the muscle testing too is that it can help identify what toxins are there. What issues may be underlying. So kinesiology, muscle testing, um, it's a way. And I'll just frame it. There's a word in Ayurveda, buddhi. Buddhi like Buddha. Buddhi means innate intelligence, and the idea is that we all have innate intelligence, common sense, but intuition. The body is doing gazillions of things right now without my consciously thinking. Same thing with nature, the laws of the universe, the sun, the moon, the planets, everything has its intelligence. So kinesiology is a way of, there's many ways of doing it, but the way I do it is person will lie on the table, they'll put their arm up like this, I'll put a little pressure on it, and I'll start touching different points on the body, which are the acupuncture points related to different organs. And what always happens is that if an organ system or an area of the body is weak, having some, we would say, low bioelectric energy, the chi or the life energy is low in that area, the arm will literally go weak. And that gives me information. And then there's ways of asking the body what are the causes of that? Is it a food cause? Is it a mental emotional stress cause? Is it a chemical or a toxin cause? Is it a viral or a parasite cause? It can be a scar cause. There's many different ways. There's different ways of asking the body. And it's, for somebody who is not familiar with it, it may seem very strange, but it's just a testimony to the body's amazing intelligence. I mean, the tsunami that happened 20 years ago, the big one in East Asia, it said that that were, no wild animals died during that tsunami. Only domesticated animals that were stuck in a house. Because those animals had an innate intelligence to go to higher ground the next day or that night before it happened. So they didn't die. So that's innate intelligence. I mean, we think of animals, how brilliant they are in certain ways. We all also are, but we disconnect from it. So muscle testing is a way of, or kinesiology is a way of asking the body questions, getting very specific answers, and fine tuning things so that we can make a good recommendation for somebody. And then sometimes, yes, I will back it up with blood work, or people will bring the blood work in, or sometimes we'll do, a microbiome test or a hormone test or something just to get more information. But generally speaking, the muscle testing is enough.
Okay. And so when I talked about the self muscle testing, right? Do you
Yes,
have people sometimes do some of that on their own, or do you believe that that works as well?
I do believe it works as well, and I do it all the time myself. Um,
Okay.
I do believe it works. The thing is that you know, if we're very attached to something, that's why working with sometimes someone who's neutral can be helpful. But there's ways to get around that, and yeah, I mean, I have some amazing stories of times that I've muscle tested myself, and clearly it was moving me in the right direction. Yeah.
Sorry, she came to visit.
Oh, nice.
Um, I just want to tell you a funny story. So because I took multiple levels of neurokinetic therapy, which is a form of muscle testing, and I used to use muscle testing to on my kids to tell me if they were like telling me the truth. So when they were really telling me the truth, they'd come to me, they'd be like, test me, test me.
Oh, that's
It
funny.
was like really fun. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We used to
Right.
use it like it became like a funny family joke. So,
Yeah. No, it's
um,
amazing. Muscle testing it is amazing. Now, my
yeah,
first muscle tester I went to in California, unless the muscle tester asks good questions, then it's like going to a therapist that asks bad questions, like how's the weather. But I mean, I remember Do you want this? Do you like this supplement? Yes. Do you like this supplement? Yes. So I walked out with 30 supplements because that's the only question he asked. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
it wasn't a sophisticated way of, you know, what's underlying, what's going on, you know, digging deep. So what the muscle tester is asking is important. Just like any relationship, you know, if you have good communication, ask good questions, then you're going to go deeper.
So, how many supplements? Are there supplements you think people should be taking across the board? And if you're working with somebody, how many are they walking out with a lot of supplements? Or are
You
you trying to
know,
get them back healthy
I like
before
to try to
tradition?
keep I like to try to keep it to 4 or 5 things per person. Um, you know, most people get overwhelmed. You know, the more I know, the harder it is for me to say, yeah, everybody should be taking this. Like, for example, a so-called good multivitamin, you know, is for the average person. It's like saying, okay, the average shoe size is 7, so it should fit most people, and that's just not the way it is. You know, so yeah, generally speaking, is it going to be harmful? Probably not. But there's ways to really, really fine tune what is, you know, much more beneficial. So
Okay.
I like to go with priority. Like, what is this person really needing right now, and then we can build from there.
Okay. And can you work with people over Zoom? Like, can you work with people over the computer?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And you're able to
I
make,
developed that ability during COVID. You know, I was doing a lot of muscle testing that way.
do you muscle test on yourself or do you,
Yeah. So, when I'm working with someone else, or
yeah, if you're working with somebody over Zoom, how
yeah,
do you muscle test them or do you have them doing the like swaying or
I
are you
do it.
doing something on yourself?
I do it. I just look at the person and I just imagine going through the exact same process that I do when the person's here in my room. And I just go through the same sequence and it, you know, we get the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. And you found that it's been helpful and it really works. So,
It does. Yeah.
okay, good. So I'm going to direct you now towards what we had sort of planned to talk about, which was
Yeah.
detoxing. And I
Yeah.
heard you mention at the beginning something about seasonal detoxification. And I'd like to just get, if you can explain what detoxing is, why we
Sure.
might need to detox.
Okay. Sure. So Ayurveda means knowledge of life. Ayurveda itself recommends that we do some kind of detox twice a year in the fall and the spring. And there's a wisdom in that because the spring, the liver is empowered. Different organs are empowered different times of the year. The liver likes to detoxify in the spring. It accumulates in the winter. Now it's time to detoxify. Also in the fall, the large intestine and the lungs like to detoxify. So it's a great time twice a year to pull back on, you know, it's a time to reorient, recenter our diet, our lifestyle, refocus. And, you know, this is Ayurveda, thousands of years old, recommending this. Back when the water was clear, the air was clear, the food was clear. Now, I mean, there's 80, 100,000 chemicals in the environment, heavy metals everywhere, herbicides, pesticides. We're exposed to more toxins than at any time in known human history. Except for maybe when all the volcanoes were going off, who knows when. But, you know, we're exposed to so many toxins. And yes, we do have amazing natural detoxification capacity. I mean, there's doctors out there say, oh, you don't need to detox, your body's doing it. But that's like saying, you know, I can drink a bottle of arsenic and my body will know how to do it. There's a certain point where it starts to become a burden on the body.
Right.
And with the amount of aluminum exposure, mercury exposure, cadmium exposure, arsenic exposure, herbicides, pesticides, genetically modified pesticides, herbicides, all of these things, vaccines, all these things are toxins that the body will learn to deal with, but either will shorten the duration of life or significantly decrease the quality of life. Because it all has to do with the health, vitality, and energy of the cell. And when the cell is uh, gunked up, uh, and the cell wall is burdened with heavy metals, um, the liver's congested from so many toxins. Fatty liver is very, very prominent. People who don't even drink alcohol these days are getting fatty liver. It's very prominent. So the body needs support to go through these things. And I'm just a big proponent of taking a little bit of time, a couple times a year, to focus on that. And then there are times where it's become very prominent where, okay, somebody has a fatty liver and they really need to focus on, liver detoxification support for 6 months to really get that fatty liver in better shape. So yeah, it's more important now than I would say ever in human history.
So, what does liver detox look like? Like, if you're talking about the spring as being the time for liver detox, and someone's going to make a great connection to the spring and Passover and cleaning for sure, but
Yep,
we'll leave that for
exactly.
someone to do. But what does liver detox look like, or detoxification in the spring, or at any time of your life?
Yeah.
What does
So,
that mean? I
first of
fast.
all,
I
yeah, first of all, you have to remove the certain offenders, which are going to be in modern life, the foods like uh, wheat, dairy, sugar, alcohol, bad fats, seed oils, things like that. So, remove the common offenders.
Okay, so I'm
Uh,
stopping you for 1 second. You're talking about removing them permanently, or you're talking about, I mean, maybe you think permanent, but at least during the detoxing process.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly. So the
okay,
idea is to take the burden off the body as much as
okay.
possible, and to eat all whole foods, primarily plant based. I always recommend 2/3 of everyone's plate in the spring be leafy greens, very supportive for the liver. And then we're going to add make sure that the large intestine is eliminating well, because when you're dumping toxins, you want to make sure you're eliminating. And then herbs to support the liver: dandelion, milk thistle, schisandra. Um, and then oftentimes in the liver, I'll do a liver flush. It's a sort of a garlic, ginger, cilantro, olive oil flush to help get that gallbladder functioning and dumping bile, to really get that liver cooking and getting the bile, because the bile that comes out of the liver that the gallbladder squirts in the small intestine, that carries with it toxins. And the liver gets congested, stops creating bile as well. The body stops being able to pull the toxins out, and the liver just ends up storing toxins, and that's one reason we get a fatty liver. The liver is intelligent. It's saying, okay, I can't get rid of it. I'll hold on to it until a better day when I can get rid of it. And then it never does that, never gets to it. So, we want to focus primarily on good elimination and liver support.
And how long
No
would that
reason, I don't
take?
think no reason to fast. Fasting
Okay.
is okay, but it's generally speaking, eating really clean will do the
Hmm.
job. Eating really
And how
clean
long
for,
would that take? Like, how long would this detoxification process take?
I mean, generally I like people to go about 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what
And
what happens is I do an 8-day cleanse too. And what happens with that is that people feel better even in 4 or 5 days. So it's sort of a magic number that people, it's enough of an experience where they go, oh my God, my brain is clearer, my body feels clearer, and less inflamed. So that's often a doorway into it to people just to experience. But generally speaking, I have my 28-day program, which is really like a 5-week program because we
mhm.
take a week to get into it, is generally sufficient. And then of course there's people that are maybe more toxic or have more issues, and that's where I will work with people one on one, take it from there.
And the average person that's coming in, okay, I'm not going to go to cancer because that's something else, but let's just say with I don't know, what are the things people have? Where people systemic inflammation today and people are having all types of autoimmune diseases and things. Are you seeing changes in things like that just from a
Yes.
5-week detox?
Yeah. No, it's mind blowing. Now, it doesn't mean they need to keep, doesn't mean they can just stop going back to their old lifestyle and
Right.
expect to. But I mean, when we started the cleanse back in 97, it just blew our mind. It started out for what we call the most difficult patients, people who ate horribly, it was crazy, Um, as a practitioner is nothing like, yeah, I'm down to, 10 cups of coffee a day from 15. Good job, week after week. So we put people in a group and guided them through this program. And it really blew our mind. I mean, the first cleanse we had, a woman on inhalers from asthma, chronic asthma. She came off her inhalers, high blood pressure, chronic migraines, um, and like high levels of anxiety. So it was amazing. And what it taught me was how resilient the human being can be if we just give it an opportunity to do what it's meant to do without throwing at it all kinds of crap that make it so much more difficult. And it is true, you could say in the Western world, we've been hoodwinked or even brainwashed into believing that what we put in our body doesn't matter. I mean, it's with all the junk food. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you are, but the amount of crap that's in the food in America is just astonishing. And carcinogens, cancer causing substances. And, none of these chemicals have ever been tested synergistically. What happens when you put 2,000 chemicals together all at one time, as opposed to, well, this one chemical, you can have a lot of it, and it won't cause any negative effect. Okay, but what happens if you have 2,000 of them or 15,000 of them in your body? Eventually it starts deranging the innate intelligence of the body, the vital life energy. In acupuncture, we have the chi or the prana of life. And this is literally the electricity of the body and how the cells communicate. I mean, you can measure the meridians now with devices. A little beep will go off when you hit an acupuncture point. So we're electrical. These toxins interfere with the intelligent electrical flow of energy in the body. So that's one reason people feel so depleted, deficient, depressed, low energy, and then they get terrified and have to take all kinds of other medications and drugs and toxins and vaccines and things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a bunch of different things at you right now because I'm going to,
Okay.
even the functional medicine, modern world today, everybody's saying protein, 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 eat meat, eat meat, eat meat, eat meat. You know what I mean? Like eat some vegetables. Most people are saying eat some vegetables, but they're saying to eat a lot of meat. So what do you have to say to that?
Well, I've been vegetarian since I was 22 years old. I'm 65 now. The only thing it hasn't done is grow my hair back, but
But that actually means you have like extra testosterone, right? Because it's that
exactly, there you go.
testosterone, that yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, I, with my patients, I don't demand anybody become a vegetarian. That's not I do it for my own personal health and spiritual reasons. However, I found time and time again that if people eat primarily plant-based, and if they want to eat meat, use it more as a condiment as opposed to a main source. I mean, that's what most ancient cultures did anyway. They used meat as a condiment, added to the stir fry or whatever. This idea that hunter gatherers, they just ate a slab of meat every single day, that wasn't even accurate because it was more like once a month they go out for the big hunt. They'd have a big feast. But the rest of the time they're eating fruits and berries and nuts and seeds and leaves and, that they gathered throughout the month. So, the one of the biggest things with uh, it's not so much the protein because we can get plenty of protein from plants. That's not the issue. The issue is how the body makes what's called non-heme iron into heme iron. Heme iron is directly in animal protein. Non-heme iron is in plants. So there is that extra step that has to take place when someone's eating non-heme, greens, for example, that the body has to do. But the reason that becomes problematic for people is because of their liver. That has to take place in the liver. So toxicity makes it easier, and that's why some people will feel great on a carnivore diet temporarily, because all of a sudden they're getting the iron, they're not struggling with conversion. But if you support the liver and get back to real health and support that iron copper relationship in the liver, which is so important, you get the right amount of minerals, support the liver. Now you're going to be able to take that non-heme, turn it into heme, no problem. And that's where I think a lot of people, they feel like, oh, I need meat for iron. Well, maybe temporarily. Even in Ayurveda, meat was not considered a food, but it was at times considered a medicine.
Hmm.
It wasn't considered a food, at times a medicine. But if someone does much better with meat, it doesn't necessarily mean that they found the solution. And this is my opinion, but we need to, what's the underlying cause? What's going on in the liver, which is making it so difficult to transform that non-heme into heme? The other thing that the liver does, it changes the T4 from thyroid hormone into T3. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, I have thyroid issues, low issues from thyroid. Let's go back to the liver again. So many of our problems are due to liver stagnation. Chinese medicine is called liver stagnation, where the liver just can't function as well as it can. So then we throw meat at it, we throw supplements at it, we throw, so many things at it, and people, yeah, they feel better temporarily. But wait 20 years, wait 20 years, and they could have a lot more problems because of all the toxicity from that.
Right, where I hear what you're saying. If you would just fix the liver, then that alone would make the change that you need to see. So,
Right. And that's a deeper level of health.
right.
Right?
Okay. Okay. So, in other words, you're saying you've been vegetarian for all these years. You have no issues. You've checked your blood. You have no hemoglobin issues. You have no.
Yeah, my blood's good.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's it's interesting because they tell you now the recommendation is 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat. And
Right.
it's hard for anybody to get. Even if you
Yes.
weigh 110 pounds, it's not easy to get. You know what I mean? It's not
Yes.
easy to get,
That's
what
a
they're saying.
lot of, yeah, yeah. And again, I think of it like, y- you know, it's 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 throwing something at the body. The body needs something. So let's just throw it at the body and it'll use some of it. Because, when we eat, a big thing of steak or meat, you're not changing, you have to break that down into separate amino acids in order to use that as protein. So there's, you can plant protein is fine. I mean, there's some of the best, biggest bodybuilders on the planet are vegan, you know. So you can get the protein. I really think it's more about it's more, and I think this is what people are looking in the wrong direction, thinking all about protein, protein, protein. It's really about what electrifies and energizes the cell is iron, is iron. But and then people, you know, so-called have low iron, and it's not because they're not getting enough iron. It's because they're not changing that iron into a usable form because of their liver's sick. Their liver's is toxic.
Okay, so if I had if I was just to make up an example in my head that may or may not be real,
Okay.
let's say a teenager who has chronically low iron, very thin, eats reasonably well, you know, irregular or heavy periods, but is constantly in a state of low hemoglobin. That's obviously not a good thing. Are you saying that has to do with the liver and that a liver detox could maybe fix that?
A very well could be. Yeah. I would do on that person. I would also do I love to do one thing I love is hair analysis.
Hmm.
Hair analysis reflects the mineral picture of the body, and so much information can be there in relationship to the minerals copper, iron, magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It tells us a lot about the hormones and what the body's doing with those minerals. And it can also indicate the state of the liver. So, yes, I mean, so often, uh, and yet, then yes, you can say, yes, it has something to do with the gut, how the body's absorbing things, but even more so because, yes, if the gut is really damaged, then yeah, you're not going to get those nutrients as well into the liver. But generally speaking, I mean, especially these days, so much of the issue is the liver. I mean, we're all exposed to so many toxins these days. It's crazy.
So you do recommend that, okay, we'll separate into categories. People who are overall healthy should still be doing some type of detoxification twice a year.
Absolutely. Yes.
And is that because you talked about how the liver needs to detox in the spring? Is it also liver detox in the fall?
Yeah, you would still detox the liver in the fall. You may not dig as deep. Like I may not do the liver flush in the spring, in the fall. But yeah, we'll still support liver detoxification. A little bit more
And so
emphasis
you're
on
saying
more
it's a month long? The detox process would be a month long or 8 days long?
a month.
Okay, and are you saying that that's enough to detox you from everything? Because again, like everyone knows on the show that I will talk about everything. My point is you believe what you want to believe, but you should listen to everything, you should hear everything. You should then make your decisions from a place of knowledge. So,
Right.
a lot of other
No,
people are talking about different ways of, let's say, detoxing from the spike protein of the COVID vaccine. Are you saying that just doing this type of detox should be enough to detox from vaccine things as well, or is there something that you would do
Um,
differently? That's because there's a lot of talk
right,
of different things being needed to detox from that
right,
type of.
right. So I would say probably my guess would be 65, 70% of the time it's enough. But this is where individuality comes in. And where was someone at before they started? How severe, you know, the situation was before, how that vaccine impacted the spike or whatever, what tissues specifically that impacted, you know, what secondary effects is that having? You know, it's having an effect on the cardiovascular system. Then, then how much does it affect other blood vessels? And those other blood vessels are feeding other organs. So there's a whole spectrum of events that can happen. So yeah, this is where, you know, obviously, if the cleanse was just enough, then that's all I'd be doing. But people need individual care and a deeper assessment of what's going on. You know, I had a guy today who had severe neurological damage from the vaccine, and I've been working with him for probably maybe 4 months, and he's, you know, he came in on a cane, young guy, and for the most part, he's not on his cane now, but it's taken a while. You know, he's eating really clean. He's taking some really good supplements. I have a really good glutathione product that I use that he uses, um, and getting acupuncture, and he's doing so much better. But it, you know, it took a little while. It took a little while.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. So, what would you recommend to people overall? In other words, we hear all these things, stay away from anything with perfume, stay away from anything with heavy metals, stay away from, air fresheners, stay away. What is there something in general that you would recommend for people in terms of things that will clog up your system, clog up your liver, that might be easier to stay away from? Or their list, sort of maybe a little list of things you could give people?
Yeah, well, those are all great things. I mean, I would say, I know I can say that here. Number one thing to stay away from right now would be the vaccine, the shots.
Well, lucky in America, I heard they just took about 55 shots off the childhood vaccine schedule.
Yeah,
So,
yes, yes. Moving in the right direction. So, I mean, what's crazy is that in Ayurveda, it said ama or toxin is a cause of all disease. That's external toxin or internally generated toxin, which can mean, if your gut and your liver aren't working well, you're not going to break down even the healthiest food. So the first thing is to understand the principle is to reduce toxicity to the best of our ability. So yes, all those things, the pesticides, herbicides, all the fake smells and perfumes and makeups and creams and all those things. It's not the thing that we do every once in a while. It's the thing we do every day. So, if you have a freshener, air freshener in your car or in your living room just to make a pretty smell, I mean, that stuff is really tough on the endocrine system, impact hormones. So, yeah, remove all the crap. Just remove it, and just start thinking at least 75%, 80% of my diet should be whole foods, 100%. And depending on how healthy or sick a person is, the last 25% is up to you. But I mean, it's not necessarily about perfection. It's not about being, crazed, but um, removing those things that are known to have heavy metals, like arsenic in this one area around here. I have some patients who live about 15 miles from here, and there was all these farms of non-organic farms. And I had 3 patients from that area with MS, and it was from the arsenic toxicity from the
oh no.
pesticides. And all 3 of them improved when we started
Good.
identified it and started getting it out of their system. Um, in fact, my teacher called it false MS because they had a picture in their hair analysis that was the opposite of what typical MS is. And he discovered many years ago that's false MS, and it's from usually from arsenic. And they have all the MS symptoms, but it's, they really, with these people, it wasn't even clear in their brain scan, but they had all the MS symptoms. So they just said, you have MS. So
Okay. And
removing the, go ahead.
apologize. No, apologize. Go on. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, removing the toxins. And then modern wheat, I don't know about where you are, but modern wheat in America is sprayed with glyphosate. It's damaging to the gut. Ancient wheat for many people is fine, but modern wheat, modern dairy, unfortunately, dairy uh, from the original ancient cows was pretty healthy. You may be a vegan, you may not like that idea, but um, dairy can be a healthy food. But modern dairy, modern wheat, and of course refined sugar, corn syrup, horrible. There's a lot of things that we can avoid, take out of our diet. And when we remove those things, it's pretty amazing how resilient the body becomes. The body, I find, wakes up and starts, oh my God, I can start dealing with this. I can start dealing with this. I can start dealing with this. Otherwise, it's distracted 24 hours a day.
Okay. I want to ask you two more things before I ask you my final question because I could sit on all night, but I'm trying to keep the episodes
Yeah, yeah,
not overly long. Number
sure.
one, I mean, we could probably have done a whole episode on this, but I want to
Yep.
understand more about this hair analysis and how this works and what information you could get from hair analysis. And is it something you're doing or you have to send it away to a lab?
Yeah, I cut people's hair, or my assistant,
Okay.
and you take the first inch and a half of hair, a few sections about that thick, really thin, little bits, send it off to a lab because the hair closest to the head
Mm-hmm.
reflects the mineral picture of the tissues in the body.
Okay.
And they have tested millions of different analysis, and there's
Mm-hmm.
different patterns. And so there's 8 physiological patterns, 4 slow patterns, 4 fast patterns, slow metabolic type, fast metabolic type. and the graph of the minerals gives indication. So say someone's calcium is very high to potassium,
Hmm.
that will indicate a thyroid issue. It'll also indicate an adrenal issue or a cortisol issue. Uh, Lower high copper indicates hormone issues, zinc issues, magnesium calcium ratio indicates blood sugar issues. So there's so much information that can be gotten through a hair analysis. And then by giving the body, I use these liquid minerals,
Hmm.
by giving the body, minerals are like the spark plugs of the cells,
Hmm.
by giving them low dose, not high dose, low dose trace minerals in liquid form, it ignites the cells of the body to start doing things differently. I've seen people's mercury really high, lead really high, just by giving the body the right minerals, those heavy metals start coming down.
So when you're talking about giving people the low dose minerals, it's based on their hair. It's not a one for all. We're throwing everything at you. We're giving you what you
No,
need.
it's based on the hair. Exactly.
Okay, so do you sometimes see in the hair, let's say high blood sugar or something that you don't see in the blood tests?
Oh, yeah.
And the hair could be a more true picture than what you.
Yes, because the blood, the blood is reflecting, number one, what's happening right now.
Mhm.
Number two, it's reflecting, uh, the blood will do whatever it can to be as healthy as possible. The
Mhm.
pH of the blood has to be right. So here's an example. This is how I got into hair analysis. My son, we were living in a place down the road. It had lead in the basement, lead paint, but we lived on the top floor and he never went down there. Anyway,
Mhm.
his blood lead was low, it was high normal,
Mhm.
which I knew wasn't, this was 28 years ago. We did his hair analysis and the doctor was like, oh, it's fine. He's normal. It's normal. It's fine. A little bit of lead, no problem. So I did a hair analysis. His hair was off the chart.
Oh, wow.
Lead, off the chart. Double or triple what it should be. So what that meant is that the body is getting lead. It's sequestering it from the blood into the tissues. Because the blood of the body's smart. It says, okay, even if the brain dies, I can keep you alive if your blood's relatively healthy. So it's sequestering the lead into the other tissues. So we went through a whole process, got the lead out of his body. But if I'd listened to that doctor, he would be a very, very sick person right now.
Did you know something was off?
Um, no, no, because we were just, took him to his infant thing and he had some blood work.
Oh, it
And
was
that,
just like a random test they were doing.
a
Okay, got
random
it.
test they did. And then we did a hair analysis after that. And fortunately, one of my colleagues, a teacher of mine, was expert in that field. And my father, interesting at the time, worked for the EPA. And he talked to the head lead guy there. And the guy said, a baby should have no lead in their blood. None. In fact, the number that was considered okay at the time, I think he was at an 8. Now a 3 is considered high. They've lowered it.
Oh,
But
wow.
back then a 10 was okay. So, I mean, he was toxic. He was toxic.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, in
It's
other words, that it shows what the body's doing over time. That's what the hair is doing. It shows the last
just
3 6 months. Yeah.
That's that I am really interested in that. We probably could have done a whole episode on that, but this will give people some food for thought. And the other thing was you talked about the body being electric, right? Like in terms of acupuncture with electric
Yeah.
pulses. What do you think of things like grounding and things like that? Like, is it something you believe in? Is it something?
Yeah. No, I do. I do believe in grounding. Absolutely. I don't, the question is which products are good or, that's another story. Um, I've used different ones over the years. Um, I'm a huge fan of, at least when the weather's warm enough, get outside, put your feet on the earth. I
Yeah.
mean, there's many times at the end of a day where I'm kind of wiped out, tired, whatever, just go to lie on the earth for 10 minutes I feel like a new person. Putting your feet on the earth. It's so
Right.
important. It's so important. I mean, we started having rubber soles back in the early 60s,
Right.
disconnected from, before that, there were leather soles, which conduct the
Yep.
energy, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of it. I think it's one of those things that, you know, and that's one of the things about the cleanse. We always emphasize these things where these very practical, down to earth things have meaning, you know. Anything we can do to reconnect to being human and based on natural laws is so important. So important.
Definitely will agree with that. And so let me just ask you. So in terms of everything, you seem to be a very spiritual person. What does spirituality mean to you?
Mm. Means many things. Um, Spirituality in in my life means fulfilling my life purpose, what I'm here to do. I think of it like yes, I'm working and I need to make money and do all the different things that we all need, but um, doing what I'm here to do to the best of my ability, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be to do some great service in the world, but I think of it as a service. And so, doing what we're here to do, fulfilling our gifts, fulfilling our purpose to the best of our ability, and knowing that we have one, each and every person. So that's, you could say, external, internal. Uh, I share that I believe that we are all parts and parcels of God, and that God is real, and that we're sparks of light of God, and that um, there's a great aphorism from India, Chincha Beta Beta Tattva, which means the inconceivable truth that we are all one with and unique at the same time with God. And that spiritual life means to me, to spend some time every day to direct the energy inward and try to discover what that connection is. And I believe it's a connection based on love, on pure love. So I try to get nourished in that way and then bring it out in the world when I can.
I like that. That's really, really good description. And, everybody has their own unique way of expressing their spirituality. And I really like that.
Yes,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you for
And
asking that. It's wonderful.
yeah, oh, thank you. And where would be the best place for people to find you? We'll, of course, link everything.
Okay. Yeah, my website, healingessencecenter.com. Healingessencecenter.com is probably the best way to reach me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So not social media. You're not a big social media person.
Well, I'm back and forth I'm Jonathan Glass on Facebook, Jonathan Glass ND on Instagram, but I'm sort of an off and on social media kind of person.
I hear you. Probably better because it's really a mess these days. So
Yeah, it
okay,
is.
perfect. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I am so excited. I'm here with Yardena Slater, and this is the first, but hopefully the first of many times she'll be with us. She and I are discussing some other things we're going to do together as well. And when I was thinking about this episode and the fact that it was about detox, I knew she would be perfect for this episode because Yardena does a lot of different things. And one of the things she does is she does run detox programs. So she knows a lot about it. And I felt like she would be so good to come on and just give us a little insight from the Torah about health, about detoxing. And I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I think we can start, okay, with the whole, health and Torah is in Genesis 127. I have the quotes, I'm just going to read it. It said, God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. So right away we see that, we weren't made in China. We're not just like this animal who can speak. We are a walking, talking, breathing image of God. So that's like already putting us in a whole different category. And like, of course, we would be, if we're in the image of God and God is perfect and good and everything like that, we're also created healthy, of course. It comes with the territory. Also, the word in Hebrew, bara, and the word briut have the same shorish, the same root, because a creation is inherently healthy. It's just our natural state. So that's just like right off the top, we see that, there's nothing even to talk about. Like our inherent state, we were made as a very, very high creation, and our inherent state is health. Okay. And should we get into the detox part first, as far
Sure,
as,
I would love to. However, whichever direction you want to go is perfect, whatever makes sense to you.
okay. Oh, so one more thing before I get into the detox source is in Genesis 1:28, or Bereshis Aleph Kafchet, it says, and God blessed them. First it says, he created man in his image. Okay, and then right away it says, and he blessed them. He blessed humanity. That means, now, did he bless them for 5 minutes? Did he, like, how long were they blessed for? For eternity. We are, you are, and me, and everybody is a blessed entity. We are blessed. We can use our free will to do whatever we want, but because we're blessed, whatever we choose to do will expand, will overflow. So it could be good or bad. We can choose disease. We can choose death, like it says in the Chumash. It says, "I have placed before you good and evil, life and death. Choose life, but you don't have to." So, but we are blessed. Okay. So again, a blessed entity is a healthy entity, obviously, inherently. So I just wanted to put out that first. But then this is amazing. So in Bereshis Aleph Chavtet is the diet for humanity. Okay, and the diet for humanity is, and God said, "Behold, I have given you every seed-bearing herb, which is upon the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit. It will be yours for food." So we have here fruit and greens. Now, if you talk to any detox specialist, any detox master, it's fruit and greens detox you. Fruit have the power, they act kind of like a broom or like liquid Drano in your system, and they pull all the cemented, old, disgusting waste that's lying in the digestive system. They pull it out. Okay, they're pullers, and they're also hydrators, and they're also energizers. So if you eat a lot of fruit, it's just, you're going to just run to the bathroom, and then you're going to be like, "Whoo, I have so much energy." So that's fruit. And then the fruit is more the feminine energy, and then the greens are more the masculine. The greens heal you, they strengthen you, they regenerate you, they also energize you and clean you. But these are the number two and basically only foods that are detoxifiers. We're frugivores. Okay, scientifically, if you look at the digestive tract, it's one of a frugivore, and in the Torah, we're told to eat fruit and greens. So we're frugivores, and it's a detox diet, what we were given. Okay, so I can't really think of any better source than that. Now it's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like it's
It's
right there.
given me a lot of food for thought, and you'll hear me talk about it like in the intro when you listen to the episode. It's given me a
Okay.
lot of food for thought. So,
Right? Yeah. Okay. Now, it is true that in Noach, after humanity, they were kind of going crazy. They were doing a lot of bad things. They were also killing people. There was a lot of stuff going on. Part of it was murder. And so after the whole wiping out of the entire world, it is true that God then gave permission. It wasn't a commandment, but it was permission. You can also eat meat, okay, with the greenery and the fruits. You can also eat meat. So now my personal opinion, there could be a source for this. I do not have the source. My personal opinion is that the lechatchila, eating, the fruits and greens, that was lechatchila. However, because God doesn't change his mind, like he doesn't, this isn't an opinion. God just states reality. So why did he change his mind and give meat. So it's still fruits and greens. But what happened with the fruits and greens, people lived forever, like for like 800-900 years. And they had a tremendous amount of energy. And unfortunately, they started using it for corruption and for murder and stealing. Like people just didn't know what to do with themselves. And I have seen raw food families that have fed their kids only raw food, like only fruits and greens, since they were babies and in utero, like the mom. And those kids, like, they have a crazy amount of energy. It's unreal. And imagine having that level of energy for 300, 400, 500 plus years. People started like kind of going a little bit cuckoo. So Hashem said, you know what? Instead of killing people, kill the animals. And the meat it's very heavy. It'll sedate you a little bit because you people are like flying like a kite up there. You need something to chill you out a little bit. So have the meat. So that's just my own personal opinion. That's what makes sense to me. But anyway, we did get permission to eat meat. It doesn't mean that necessarily to eat it all day long, but we did. But the original diet is a detox diet. And it still holds for today. Maybe not 100%, but high level. So the greens, because people hear fruits and greens and they hear fruitarian. This is fruits and greens. The greens are a very, very important part of it. The greens are the protein, they're the building blocks. Why is that? If you think about a cow, a 1-ton animal, think about a chimpanzee, a orangutan, these are big, very strong animals. What do they eat? A cow, it only eats grass, greens. Chimpanzee, greens and fruits predominantly, and a little bit of insects. And they are huge and strong. Why? Because they're eating greens. What are greens? Greens are amino acids. And your body, when it eats animal protein, it cannot possibly digest or process the animal protein in its animal protein form. What it does is once you eat it, it breaks it back down into its original form of amino acids. So the greens are the original form. They are the amino acids. And that's why you cannot just be with the fruit, even back then, but certainly today, because everything today is like depleted. Of course you would need the greens, and you would need them in their original, like more organic form, because the koach is in those greens, those leafy greens. So
That's so interesting because I never thought about that. You're right. Cows eat grass. That's all they
yeah,
eat. That's all. Hold on. That is all a cow is supposed to eat.
supposed to eat. Yeah.
We've messed it up, and that goes along with my saying that we can eat organic, but when it's not organic, like Hashem never said, start feeding the cow grain and antibiotics and giving it things that it was never meant
Yeah.
to have to
Yeah, of
fatten it
course.
up. So that's
Yeah.
actually really important and really interesting.
Yes, yes. I mean, so they were created to eat grass, and if you just have them pasture and eat grass all day, they will still become a 1-ton huge animal. So that is very interesting, and that is why that is. You need the greens. It's not just the fruits; it's also the greens. So that's one thing. Now there's one thing very, very interesting. Listen to this. The Mishnah in Masechet Shkalim, chapter 5, Mishnah Aleph, talks about the job of Ben Achia. He had a job, and the job was to watch over the intestinally sick, what's called in Hebrew the Cholei Me'aim. In the Beis Hamikdash, he was in charge of the Cholei Me'aim. And what does that mean? There were Cholei Me'aim, they were intestinally sick, Kohanim in the Beis Hamikdash? Yes. The Rambam and Rav Ovadia of Bar Tanura explain that the Kohanim got sick a lot in the Beis Hamikdash from walking barefoot in the Beis Hamikdash. I have no idea what that means. But two, because they had to eat so much of the korbanos, they were eating meat all day, and they got sick. Their intestines couldn't handle it. And then they had to take care of them. So that's as far as the balance. You do have to have a balance. There is the original diet, and then fine, whatever works for you. I believe that 60-70% of the original diet plus whatever works for you should probably be fine, as long as your body is clean, as long as you've cleaned out and started with a clean slate. But to eat meat like the Kohanim did for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we see that back then it wasn't working for them. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming on. I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to do more things together with you.
Amen to that.
Thank you so much. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Please seek guidance from a trusted healthcare professional. By listening to this podcast, you release Holy Health and all of its guests from all liability. I'd like to thank Yakir Abelow for editing this podcast.